Today on the CTV News at 5, a Claresholm man charged in the murder of a 77-year-old Vulcan senior makes his first court appearance. Plus, a judge will not dismiss the charges against a Blood Reserve woman for protesting fracking on the reserve. And one of science's biggest superstars stops by the U of L.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. He's accused of befriending a senior from Vulcan, kidnapping him, stealing his money, and then killing him. Today, Timothy Engel made his first court appearance in Lethbridge. Engel appeared via closed-circuit television from Calgary. Among those in the courtroom to watch, the victim's daughter. Kayla Carr reports.
Lavonda Justinic wants justice for her father.
I imagine probably any family member would, if you were in the same circumstances, would want to do the same thing.
77-year-old Otto Bunty Luce was kidnapped from his home in Vulcan earlier this month. His dismembered body was found a few days later. Today, the man charged with killing him made his first court appearance. 35-year-old Timothy Engel is charged with first-degree murder and indignity to a human body.
I'm angry now, so that's where I'm going to direct my energy into seeing that justice is served.
RCMP believe that Luce was abducted from his home and taken to Nanton and Claresholm, where there were several attempts to withdraw money from his bank accounts. Mounties say Engel had befriended Luce as part of an elaborate con job. Justinic says her dad was just a regular nice guy.
Pretty happy-go-lucky, independent, had lots of friends, a farmer. Just like I said before, it hasn't changed.
Engel's appearance was brief. He's asked for more time to find a lawyer. The case will return to court February 27th. Justinic says she'll be there until the case is resolved, something she wouldn't be able to do without the help of her friends, family, and even strangers.
People just have no idea what it's like to be in a small community until you have a devastating thing like this happen. And the support is unbelievable. But you know, hundreds of people, not just a few.
Engel's common-law wife, Bobby Jo Parks, is also charged in connection with the case. She is out of police custody and scheduled to make her first court appearance Wednesday in Fort Macleod. Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
When police arrested Engel, he was out on bail for unrelated assault charges, and that case is still before the courts. A former Lethbridge school trustee has pleaded guilty to forgery for a second time. 49-year-old Dennis Wickham entered the plea in court today. He'll serve a 4-month sentence in the community under curfew. While he was the president of the Softball Association in Lethbridge, Wickham forged the names of 2 other members and wrote checks to himself. The checks totaled just under $1,000. He was convicted last fall of taking $4,000 from the Southern Alberta Football Officials Association, and he's currently serving 6 months of house arrest for that. 4 people face charges after a man drove his car into a crowd outside a Lethbridge nightclub. It happened early Saturday morning in front of Pulse. Bar staff were kicking a group of patrons out of the business when a fight broke out. One of the men got into his car and then drove it into a crowd. 3 people suffered injuries. 25-year-old Yannick Kanayungu of Calgary faces a number of charges, including assault with a weapon and dangerous driving. He'll be in court February 28th. 23-year-old Edgar Segesoyo and 23-year-old Vasco Kalala of Lethbridge have both been charged with assault. One more Calgary man also faces assault charges. A Blood Tribe police officer charged with making threats and criminal harassment has pleaded not guilty to the charges. In October, Sergeant Alan Eli Wolftail was charged following a 3-month-long investigation by RCMP. Cardston RCMP say it's alleged that Eli Wolftail harassed a Blood Reserve woman over a 3-year period. Some of the incidents are alleged to have occurred while Eli Wolftail was on duty. He joined the Blood Tribe Police Force in 1998. He was previously suspended from duty for more than a year after being charged with assault. Eli Wolftail has been suspended without pay. The Blood Tribe Police Force is also conducting its own internal investigation. A trial has been set for May the 9th. An autopsy was conducted today for a High River man suspected of overdosing on drugs. The 23-year-old man was visiting friends in Nanton at the time, but lives in High River. Around 2:30 yesterday morning, paramedics were called, but they couldn't save the man's life. He died in hospital in High River. RCMP say so far there is no indication that ecstasy is to blame. There has been a recent rash of ecstasy overdoses in Alberta and BC linked to a chemical being used to cut the drug. We have got a really nice week shaping up, Dor. We've got some warmer temperatures and even sunshine, too.
I know. A little bit of wind in the mix as well, but that's because of a huge system that's moving onto the BC coast and in through the interior. It's going to deposit most of the precipitation in through Vancouver. There are wind warnings and heavy snowfall warnings for the Sunshine Coast. In through the interior, more snow and a bit of rain as well. But here we pick up the warm temperatures on our side of the mountains, and I'll have more details coming up in a couple of minutes.
All right, Dory, we like how that sounds. Well, a judge has denied a motion to dismiss the charges against one of the Blood Reserve women who took part in a protest against fracking on the reserve. 3 women were charged with intimidation during the September 9th protest, and one of them, Lois Frank, is representing herself. She served notice that she intends to fight the charge on constitutional grounds, but whether she'll get that opportunity remains to be seen. Terry Boat has the latest.
Lois Frank was one of 3 women who were handcuffed and taken to jail for trying to prevent oil company equipment from entering an exploration site on the Blood Reserve during a brief protest last September. Today, Frank, a past chair of the Blood Tribe Police Commission, told the judge it was an internal issue, that it would serve no purpose to criminalize women who were only trying to voice concerns.
I filed my motion to dismiss in the hopes that this would be referred back to the source, which is the Blood Tribe Chief and Council, and the oil agreements that were signed without the consent of the people.
The judge denied an application to dismiss the charge. Instead, the case against all 3 women will be dealt with together in one trial. The co-accused, Almaya Tailfeathers and Jill Cropbeard-Wolf, were represented by their lawyer, Ingrid Hess. She says her clients intend to fight the charges on the merits of the case and lawfulness of drilling without proper public consultation.
And then already my clients have brought significant attention to these issues. There are people from around the world contacting them, supporting them, and encouraging them.
Outside court, a handful of demonstrators carried signs showing support for the women and expressing concerns about the drilling process known as hydraulic fracturing.
We come down to support Lois and the other women because I think they're making a fine statement for all Canadians, not just for people on the reserve. And there's soon going to be, like in Quebec, they've stopped fracking. They're talking about it in the Maritimes.
Now that the judge has ruled the court does have jurisdiction over this matter, the case has been adjourned until next week when they'll set a trial date. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Cardston.
The trial is expected to last 2 or 3 days. A date will be determined next Monday. Protesters of the logging in this Castle Special area are calling on the Premier to stop development plans. Logging has been delayed for almost 2 weeks because picketers have surrounded the machinery. And last week, the government said anyone without a work order is trespassing and needs to leave. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
The people that have been there in the minus 38, minus 39, minus 40 weather, let's get a round of applause for those people.
People opposed to logging in the Castle Special area have put a freeze on development plans for nearly 2 weeks by picketing on the logging site. Days after Sustainable Resource Development staff told protesters they're trespassing and must leave, more than 100 gathered to rally just outside the site.
This is really an important area. We just can't give it away for garden mulch. We have to look after it now. We got to update on our forestry plan, management plans.
Protesters say opinion polls show more than 75% of people in the area oppose clear-cut logging in the Castle region. They want to preserve the popular ecotourism spot for future generations.
Logging in specific areas, it's a sustainable resource. It's where they've chosen to do it.
There are other areas that aren't nearly as sensitive that could provide the commercial value that Spray Lakes is looking for.
Harry Chase, Liberal critic for tourism, parks and recreation, says he's been asking for the Castle Special Area to be set aside as a provincial park since 2004.
It's a beautiful area. They don't call it the Crown for nothing.
Demonstrators say this is the longest amount of time a logging initiative has been held off due to protesters. They say it gives them hope that the provincial government will change their plans for this area.
Alison Redford is the first woman premier of Alberta. She could be the first one to take that step to act in a different way.
Locals say they've been opposing this development for years, and they're not giving up now.
Keep coming. Come and stand with us on Monday morning, on Tuesday morning, on Wednesday morning, on Thursday morning.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Castle River Valley.
Alberta Sustainable Resource staff say protesters can picket outside the site, but not in the development area because it's a safety concern to have anyone other than workers. Alberta's premier will meet with business leaders to hear their concerns at Lethbridge College tonight. The invite-only session will begin shortly after 7 this evening in the Garden Court restaurant. Relatives of a former Southern Alberta man are overwhelmed by the public support for a poster blitz that they hope will lead to new details in the search for Matthew Huzar. In Lethbridge, relatives handed out hundreds of new posters offering a large reward for any information about Huzar's disappearance. The 25-year-old geologist went missing just over a month ago after attending a staff Christmas party in Vancouver. Families say there was a lineup to get posters when they opened the doors in the morning. Dozens of people picked up the posters to display throughout the area.
Not only in Lethbridge, it's in on the highway between Lethbridge and Vancouver. There's a lot of people that have been volunteering to post up posters between here and Vancouver, which is absolutely wonderful. My whole family's been touched, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Relatives have also couriered posters to several volunteers in other cities. To get posters, you can call 403-329-2064. Well, on the markets today, some mixed numbers. Here's how the day wrapped up.